Welcome back to Self Love Ignited. Today on the podcast, I am interviewing Chris Weals. Chris came on to share his own personal self love story, and it all has to do with relationships. So he started as a young person. He had depression, anxiety, panic attacks as a teenager. He suffered a really traumatic event. And then as a young man in his 20s, he did what most of us do, and he started a career that didn't really light him up, but it was the thing that he was, quote unquote, supposed to do. And he, through a journey to self-love, has come out the other side and completely changed his life in so many ways. And it's a really beautiful story. Chris really believes that relationships are the most important, wonderful, and challenging part of being human, and the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. This is why Chris focuses his life coaching practice on helping people create and maintain healthy, joyful relationships. And he came on today to share his story and how he got to this place. So here is Chris. Enjoy. My name is Katie Allen, and this is Self Love Ignited. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the podcast. Today on Self Love Ignited, I have the pleasure of chatting with Chris Weals. Chris, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited that we are finally having this conversation. Why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Thank you, Katie. I'm super excited to be talking with you. Like you said, my name is Chris Weals. I'm a life coach focused primarily on relationships, helping mostly men with their personal relationships. So romantic relationships that are challenged, the communication and connection might not be what it once was. There's ugly fighting or just avoidance. And so I work with one person in the relationship only, mostly men, like I said, and help them see their role in it. And so it's a lot of working on their relationship with themselves to heal that, help them feel better about who they are, set intentions for who they are for themselves and who they want to be in the relationship, and then bring awareness to who they've been and how they've been creating the ugly fighting and all of the things that they don't like in the relationship, and then how to bridge that gap through self-management and relationship management.
I think that's amazing. I love that this is the work that you do. A lot of the personal development space, there's a lot of women. I feel like the women are like at the forefront, maybe a little bit louder about it, more in your face. But this work is so needed for men as well, obviously. So I think that it's amazing that that's what you do. And I think through us hearing your story, it might become a little bit obvious why you do this work.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. So Chris, that being said, I want to hear your story of self-love, whatever this looks like to you. So take us back to the beginning, this challenging relationship that you had with yourself. What did that look like? Where did that begin? Sort of paint the picture for us a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of hit it right on the head by saying it's been challenging, because it has. And so it's a long story. I'll try to keep it pretty short because it goes back to my childhood and middle school. I was 12 years old, 13, something like that, and started having signs of depression, anxiety. I remember having panic attacks my freshman year of high school. So I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, I guess, at a pretty young age. And then when I was 16 years old, had my driver's license for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I had access to my dad's pickup truck, and I was off-roading with a couple of my friends. I rolled that truck off a cliff, like 600 feet, fell off a cliff. My best friend was in the car, and he died. Like he didn't survive that accident. He died. So, I mean, as you might imagine, that was an awful experience for me. I walked away from that accident. My best friend died. I left that feeling a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. So the depression, the anxiety, all of that got far worse. And then I had to go into adulthood. I had to leave high school, go pick a major in college, and I didn't know what I want to do. I also left that with this sense of why did I survive? What's my purpose in life? And that was a really burning desire for me to know what my life was about, because I thought that there has to be some reason that I survived that. And so, I go into college, pick a major, pick a career that was okay. I did fine financially, but it didn't really feel like it filled my that sense of purpose and that need to have that in my life. And I still struggled with depression and anxiety issues, and just really didn't do much about it. I guess because there's been this stigma still in our society around mental health and going to get help and being a man, and just you know, tough it out, walk it off, rub some dirt on it, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to deal with, these mental and emotional issues. And so I didn't know what to do. I was afraid of looking weak and being vulnerable. And so I didn't get help pretty much throughout my 20s. And I was still depressed, still anxious. I had panic attacks regularly, had this low level, like general anxiety constantly, didn't sleep well, didn't eat well, drank a lot. Uh, so yeah, just kind of was struggling along. Like still was doing okay in my career. I
Mhm.
bought a house, like things I was supposed to do, but still didn't really feel good about. And then I started dating my current girlfriend, like I don't know, 12, 13 years ago or something, a long time ago.
Mhm.
Uh, she started asking me questions that really started the ball rolling toward all this major change. She asked me, like, Chris, what do you actually want for yourself? What do you want your life to look like? And that simple question blew me away. What do you mean? Like I get a choice? Like I deserve something better than what just comes my way? And she encouraged me to get help. And so I started seeing a therapist, and that therapist was amazing. And she gave me some tools to use on myself, meditation and affirmations. She gave me the RAIN technique for dealing with anxiety, which is recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture, so that when something comes up, I can process it and feel better without needing to be on drugs. And I I moved to the beach. I started traveling all around the world just because I actually started really thinking about that question my girlfriend asked, what do you want your life to look like? And I started doing this work with my therapist. I started to forgive myself and overcome all of the guilt and the shame. And I just started coming out of the fog that I was living in, and started making intentional choices. So yeah, like I said, I moved to the beach. I started traveling. I got a much better paying job, but still didn't love it. And then the traveling got real serious. My girlfriend and I quit our jobs and sold our houses and traveled all around the world for a year. And so during that time, I was able to spend some time thinking about life purpose and who am I, and how do I want to contribute and add value to the world and all of that. And that's kind of how I landed in this world of life coaching, is because I started feeling better myself and developed a sense of purpose for myself, because I was watching videos that like Jack Canfield put out back in the early 90s, which is, this video was kind of funny, but it was very helpful for me.
Mhm.
And then, then I got certified in success principles coaching, and I really just wanted to help. I figured, like, wow, if I can overcome all of that depression, anxiety, guilt, shame, and actually forgive myself and start to create with intention, a more enjoyable life, then it's possible. And there's a lot of other people out there who don't know it's possible, and they're struggling with all these different things. And I want to help them. And I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love your story. I know when you and I first connected and we had I got a tiny little snippet of that story. I just love your story because it's so relatable. Like how many people, I mean, the fact that you had such a traumatic event as a teenager, like that's horrible. And I think most people don't ever experience something like that.
Sure.
And so of course that sort of sets you apart in that way. But I think, how many of us can relate to the as a young adult, pick a career, go and do this thing, go and get a job, and now you're doing all the things that you are, quote unquote, supposed to do. I
Right.
definitely did that. We're doing the things that you're supposed to do, but it's like it's an empty hole. Like you're not fulfilled, and you might not know why. And I think it takes a lot of courage on your part to sort of not just have, like, your girlfriend asked the question, and it would have been really easy for you to just like, I don't know, shrug it off, right? I think lots of
Right.
people do that. I think it takes a hell of a lot of courage for you to take that question and actually hold it and actually think about it and then take action on it. Like, I commend you for that. That's huge.
Thanks. I feel like it was something I couldn't help. Like at first I did kind of shrug it off. Yeah, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Like I don't even, it doesn't even make sense. It's so weird to me now. That question, it didn't even make sense to me
Yeah.
at the time. But then I started obsessing over it. And I'm like, what? Like is it true? Can I actually start choosing what I want for myself?
Mm-hmm.
Can I feel better about myself? Can I live somewhere I would actually want to live, not just where I grew up, right? Because that's what I'm comfortable with,
Yeah.
and all of that. And then I became obsessed with that and actually started writing about it. What do I want? What does
Totally.
matter to me? Right? And
Yeah.
then I started getting really clear on my values and what actually matters, not what other people told me matters, right? So then I changed, like, well, I'm not going to be so serious about work anymore because I actually don't really care that much about what I was doing. So why am I killing myself over this? And so yeah, things just really started changing
Mm-hmm.
because I started changing them
Mm.
because I realized that I could.
Yeah. And I think you just, like, you nailed it right there. Things started changing because you started changing them,
Right.
right? It's we all have this choice in this life to just like go with the flow and take whatever just naturally just sort of washes up on our beach, so to speak. Whatever just arrives in front of you, like, well, I guess this is what I'm doing. Or you go, what do I want? Ask the damn question. Right? And then take action.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And even with things like depression and anxiety, we
Mm-hmm.
think that we're just it's our fate, right? Like we're just victimized by whatever it is going on with our own minds, and there's nothing we can do about it. But I've learned that that's not true.
Yeah.
It might be very challenging. It might be very difficult to work through that, but it's possible because I know it because I've done it. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
still growing in that. I'm still doing. It's not like I have everything all figured out and I'm some Zen master with no more human problems, right? But I have so many more tools, and like when the depression comes on, I can recognize it and I can start to nurture myself and work through it. And it doesn't last for years anymore. Now it's maybe only hours or maybe days.
Right, right. And so what does that look like for you? Like, so you clearly have a really high level of awareness now. So you notice when these things come up. And then you said you can nurture yourself through it. Like, so what does that, like, really tangibly, what does that actually look like for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a check-in with, okay, well, what is this, what was this triggered by? Is there some event? Is it because of work or something that happened in my life? So just kind of running through that and then going through, well, what have I been doing lately that might be contributing to
Mhm.
this? Am I getting enough sleep? How's my diet been? Am I drinking enough water every day? Am I getting enough sunshine, which is usually a big culprit, is I'm indoors too much and I need more outdoor time. But or even the hydration thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I had like half a glass of water today. Then maybe that has something to do. So just recognizing that there are things that I'm doing or not doing that play a huge role in how I
Right.
feel mentally. And so then I'll check in with myself and go, well, oh, you know what, man, I haven't been meditating every day. So I'm going to get back to my meditation routine. I'm going to get back to journaling. I'm going to get back to sleep, like having a better bedtime routine. So I'm not on my phone all night. And I go to bed at a set time and I leave the phone alone and I actually sleep and wake up and have a good night. So I'm like actually doing very practical
Yeah.
things to help me feel better. And then when I'm in the middle of it, the like a depression or anxiety, I can also in that moment go, hey, look, this isn't the truth. I know that my brain is suffering from some kind of discomfort or fear, or it's the old thought pattern of negative beliefs about myself. It's not the truth. I don't have to accept this. as my reality.
Mhm.
So yeah, it might be difficult for me because it is my own brain doing this. And so, but I can kind of talk myself through it and realize that it's not necessarily truth, and then also get back to doing those practical things that help me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how simple, not necessarily easy, but how simple it like this sort of is for you, right? Like I think
Right.
there's this idea among a lot of people that it's like it's gonna be really hard. Like everything we're gonna do is gonna be really hard, and like you're gonna have to go deep and you're gonna have to do this. And like I think there's a totally a time and a place to like do the deep dive stuff, right? Like you said, like you worked with a therapist for a long time.
Right.
There's somebody that's guiding you through that. But on a really practical level, it's like, have I had enough water? What have I been eating? Have I had sunshine? Right? It's like we actually like I think so many people just downplay that stuff, and it's like but that's your foundation, because without that nothing else is going to work. We all need those basics in order to function well.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're spot on. It's simple, but not necessarily easy, and it's the the application of it that matters most, because these are things we all know,
of course.
right? But,
Yeah,
but the difference maker is, are we doing what we know works,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's where the not so easy thing comes in, because it's really easy to get caught up in, spending 6 hours on social media a day and all of that, and then and not realizing like that is playing a huge role in how crappy we feel.
yeah, yeah, for sure. What is your how do you motivate yourself to do the things that you know you need to do? Because like you said, you just said we all know that we need to do these things, we all know that we should be doing them, but actually doing them is the challenging part. So for you, how do you go from being in a, whether it's like an anxious place or a depressed place, recognizing like, oh, this is what I haven't been doing or this is what I need, how do you find like the oomph, the drive, the motivation to do the things?
Well, a part of it is just because I spent so many years feeling awful,
Mm-hmm.
and just I don't want to do. And I know now, I feel like because I've gained this awareness, these tools, and I've been able to help myself in the past. Now I know better, right? And I just don't want to waste any more of my life in that. And so I sometimes I need reminders, and so I do have some people who are really close with me who I do lean on at
Mm-hmm.
times. One of my closest buddies is really into self development and growth and mental health and all of that also, and so I'll ask him to kind of let me know if I'm being overly negative or whatever. And my girlfriend, the same thing. Like she has no problem, reminding me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're being kind of a jerk lately. Have you been meditating lately?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it like I love that though, because it's beautiful accountability that you have built into your life. It's accountability and it's support. That really that loving support, not just like, oh, you're really being a jerk, you need to figure your stuff out, but like actually, you know, asking you from a place of love, like, are you okay? Are you doing okay? What do you need? Um,
Right.
there's this idea that I hear a lot and it drives me crazy, where people are like, I should just be able to figure this out. Like I should just be able to take care of my own stuff. And it's like, but that's not how we work. As human beings, we are social creatures.
Right.
We are like, we have evolved to need other people, to need social interaction. And that is not just for the good things. That's also for the tough stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that because we don't want to be vulnerable, or we don't want to put anyone out. Right.
Mhm.
But you're right. We're very social.
Mhm.
Relationships are incredibly important,
Mhm.
and people want to help.
Yeah.
I found that it's the same all over the world. I've been to a lot of different countries all over the world, and I have found that people want to be kind, they want to be helpful, they want to be generous, and so just ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had the exact same experience. It's true. People are overwhelmingly good and
Yes.
overwhelmingly want to help. But sometimes we have to sort of put our hand up and say, "Hello, over here. I need some help," in whatever way that looks like. Right.
Right. And yeah, you're right. And I think we just have to accept that it's not there's nothing weak about that.
Yeah.
Right? It's just something that we have available to us to help us do better. And then we can be available to other people to help them do better too. And that's just how we work as a species.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. Chris, this journey that you have been on, going from, a kid who was having panic attacks to a teenager who suffered a, horribly tragic event, very traumatic event, to being an adult who was kind of lost and didn't really know what you were doing or what you wanted, and getting to this place now, this like aware, grounded, caring, nurturing place that you are with yourself. Do you label this, I don't know if label's the right word, but do you feel like this is a journey of self-love? Is this self-discovery, self-acceptance? Like what feels most true to you?
Yeah, I think it's mostly self-love.
Yeah.
And because I hated myself, to be honest. That's where I was for a long time. Because of that accident and even other things. I got in trouble a lot as a kid. I was, which is strange because I was loved. I was loved by my parents and my extended family, and I knew that, and yet I still was not happy with myself. And then the getting in that accident, losing my friend like that, yeah, I just went to a very dark place. And so the journey has been like self forgiveness and self love. Like just yeah, that really it gets to the heart of it. Is I needed to learn how to love myself
Yeah.
and like understand that I'm deserving of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you just said, even though you grew up in a space where you were loved and there was a lot of like healthy relationships around you, if you didn't feel that inside, the rest of it's almost like you become Teflon and everything else just slips off. Like nothing sticks because you're not feeling it inside. Like it has to start within, right?
Right. Yeah.
So now that you're in this place of self-love and really loving and accepting yourself, how are your relationships, whether it's with your girlfriend or with your friends or with your extended family, how are your relationships different now compared to how they used to be?
Wow. Yeah, they are a lot different because for one, I discontinued some of the relationships that weren't good for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just for whatever reason. And then I've just started gravitating more toward people who are more loving and supportive and positive, uh, even within my family. So I spend a little bit less time with those family members who aren't as positive or loving. Not that I cut them out completely, but just I have had to protect my energy, and then I started becoming more compassionate, with others as I've become more compassionate with myself.
Yeah.
I've been able to extend that more. Because I was so focused on how I was feeling all the time. I was very self-centered and like not a very good relationship person because I
Mm-hmm.
was just so worried about myself all the time. Like I just didn't have anything left to give to anyone else. And so I've been able to start to, like feel that love for myself and then expand that into my other relationships. So actually care more about how I'm affecting other people, how I'm showing up for them, how I'm helping them have a better life experience and love themselves more. So yeah, it's definitely had a huge positive impact on my relationships because I'm protecting myself more, and then I'm just more loving and more giving to those who I am committed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I don't know if this sits with you, but I'm sure you've heard the whole like fill your cup first and then as you overflow, you can give more to others, right? Like give from your overflow. And it's like
Mhm.
that's what you've done. You filled your own cup first, and now you have so much more to give in all these other relationships, right?
Right. And
Energetic
then
wise and love and compassion and all these beautiful things that we all want to be giving and receiving.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've made giving one of the things that fills my cup so that it can just stay full. And of course, that doesn't exclude myself. I have to also give myself all the things I need, and sometimes that is rest, right? So I can't always just be out doing for others all the time, but
Yeah.
like in general, I can and feel really good about that. And that energizes me and that makes me feel good. And so then I have more energy to give. And it's just this like upward cycle now. And yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
That sounds amazing. The image that I got is like, when you're on a roller coaster and they're like cranking you up to the top. It's like you're just going up. You're just going up. It's like this beautiful like thing, and you like get to bring all of your loved ones and all of your family and your friends and all the people in your life with you. It's like, I'm going this way. Who's coming?
Right. Right.
Right?
And of course, there are still those
Oh yeah.
drops.
Yeah.
It's still, like I said, I'm still human, right?
Yeah.
I still like, so it's like a roller coaster that's doing loops, but the loop, like the trend is up, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think anybody who's like, oh no, I don't have those moments anymore, like I don't have hard times, or I don't have like, okay, well, that's not realistic. Like, you're living in a little bubble, because we're all still human, having a human experience. It doesn't matter where, what state you're in. There's still challenging times, and that's okay. But
Right.
you build your resilience. So, you said it before, when it came to your depression and your anxiety, it's like, where it used to suck you in for days or weeks, now it's like hours. You can catch it and you can see it, and it's like it still exists, but it just doesn't have the same hold.
Right. Because part of that is just accepting it, kind of like, okay, like that's like, I'm human, this is part of life. In the past, it would get it would spiral out of control because the depression or anxiety would kick in, and then I would judge myself so harshly for being defective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what's right? And then I would beat myself up, and that would just make it so much worse. So I would just spiral out of control. And now when it comes on, it's like, okay, like this happens. This is like, I'm going to experience setbacks and pain, and things are going to happen, and it's not always, life isn't going to always be easy, and I'm not going to always handle everything perfectly, and that is okay.
And that is okay. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, how has your self-love journey influenced or affected your path to being an entrepreneur? Now, you sort of put a few of the dots together earlier, but how has this personal journey affected the work that you do today? Because your previous career was not coaching at all, right?
It was not. I was a corporate accountant.
Oh,
So
so you couldn't be any more different if you tried.
right, yeah, a little bit different. So it's had a profound impact on my career, on being an entrepreneur. And so like just going into coaching it's all about love, because of the self-love journey that I was on, and then just feeling so overwhelmed with joy about that, and just not helping but want to share that with other people, right? But then becoming an entrepreneur was such a new, scary, uncomfortable experience that I had to increase all of that self-love, because no, it's been challenging, but
Yeah.
but it all goes together, because like as I work on this with myself, then I have more to offer my clients as well. So I've really enjoyed it, as wild and frightening as it's been.
Yeah, yeah. If you hadn't intentionally embarked on this journey, do you think that you ever would have become an entrepreneur? Do you think that you would have had like the tools and the mental and emotional capacity to handle it?
No, I had the desire, but I was too scared and thought too poorly of myself
Hmm.
to give it a shot.
Yeah, yeah. Chris, if you could give advice to younger you, maybe that teenager who had just suffered that horrible accident, maybe younger you, when you were in your 20s and you were at the beginning of this career and very quickly realized that it wasn't really doing anything for you other than paying the bills. If you could go back and give advice to younger you, what would that look like? Do you think? What would that sound like?
Great question. I would tell myself to start the journey. now, that the self-love journey. Start it right away. Go get help. Like when after the accident, my dad said, "Hey, do you want to talk to someone? Do you want to go see a counselor?" And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I went to one session, was like, no, I'm good. And like I would have maybe gone back and said, hey, keep doing that. Because it's going to be a really tough road for you, the way that you did it. And so, start the intentional, path now, and do it with a lot of patience for yourself and self-compassion. Like, start loving yourself right now. That's a choice. You don't have to be successful. You don't have to, like, your external circumstances don't matter. You can start loving yourself right now, and that could look like getting help, or just like take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Like, just
Mhm,
like little things you could start taking care of yourself, and continue to get help from other people.
mhm.
Really foster those, or like nurture those relationships that are positive and supportive. Do the things that you need to do to help you be who you need to be and be where you need to be
Yeah,
to keep going.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing advice. That's amazing advice. And you said, you totally gave me goosebumps in there. You said it's choice. It is a choice.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel like they do not have that choice. And
Yeah, you're right.
maybe nobody's ever told them. And I
And,
want,
and if somebody has told them, maybe it was too much for them to believe, so
yep,
we just need to keep telling them. Because I've had a lot of conversations with people who have suffered traumas in their childhood, and what they make that mean is that they're not worthy or deserving of love, and that's the story they're telling themselves, and they're stuck. So just, you know don't give up on those people, because I was
absolutely.
stuck there. I, for a long time, no matter what you told me, I thought, yeah, I don't deserve love because of what I did.
Yeah,
And that, now I know that's not true,
yeah,
and that it is a choice, right?
yeah.
and and so, wow, yeah, I mean, that part is so powerful. If people can accept that,
Mhm.
right, like, that's a really good starting place.
That's a beautiful starting place. Yeah, it really is. It is. Okay, so Chris, if there's somebody listening to this or watching this who wants to find out more about you and the work that you're doing, first of all, what does that look like? Do you do like one-on-one stuff, group containers? And then where can people find you online? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely, thank you. Yeah, I do mostly one-on-one work right now. I have a 12-week program, and a ton of progress is made during that time. My website's currently down, but you can find me on LinkedIn. It's ChrisWeals, and I'm very active, on there. I also do offer group coaching through an organization called Ingomu, and that's ingomu.com.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have to say it again. Like I love the work that you're doing. I think that the world needs more of this. I think that men particularly need to see this and hear this and know that it's okay to stand up and ask for help. It's okay to not have it all together. It's okay to reach out to other people and be supported through this. Um, that old macho BS of, you don't talk about my problems and I just hold it all in and everything. Like, no, we've outgrown that as a society. Can we just agree we've outgrown that and maybe like up level a little bit?
Right. That whole suffering and silence
Yeah,
thing, yeah, let's let that one go.
let's let that one go. Absolutely. All right, Chris, is there anything else that you feel called to share? Is there anything else that's on your heart, anything else in your mind that you'd like to share with us before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I think real quick, just on the subject of vulnerability, I get that. It is scary to put yourself out there and to trust that other people aren't going to use that to hurt you. But I want you to know that they they can't. Like, that's really, it's another one of those choices. If you choose not to let whatever happens with that information hurt you, then it won't hurt you. So The only thing that will come from being vulnerable is good. So
I love it.
there you
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I think let's leave it there then, because that's absolutely perfect. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and being vulnerable. I hope that you don't have too much of a vulnerability hangover after this conversation.
go. Choose not to this time.
Choose not to. Choose not to. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.